What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is Professor Anime, and we are back again with yet again another episode of the Ancient Magus Bride. One of my personal favorite shows of the fall of 2017 season so far. Today we will be talking about episode 2, so without further ado, let's jump into it. So when it comes down to this episode of the Ancient Magus Bride, this was mainly an episode that gave us quite a lot of world building, I would say. And I think one of the confirmations that we got by the end of this episode is that in the world of magic, there still does reside dragons. And we see a dragon at the end of this episode pick up Chisei. I just had to start off this review with this part of the episode because this was definitely probably the portion of the episode in which everyone could seem a little bit confused on, and to me too, you know, it was quite evident that this scene in particular was just used for the sake of a cliffhanger, because throughout the entirety of the episode it had really good pacing as we see, you know, Elias and Chisei exploring London, and you know, we'll get to the extra bits of what was contained within this episode, but then directly after, when Elias and Chisei are about to go on yet again another adventure in the mountains, out of nowhere this dragon just appears out of nowhere, grabs Chisei in its mouth, and then flies off. Now, I don't really think Chisei is any real danger of the swords, because I'm pretty sure your homeboy Elias is gonna end up rescuing her, and not to mention, just judging by the opening, we can kind of see a little bit of spoilers within that opening, as well as it seems as though Elias can turn into some type of beast. I mean, he already is a beast, but definitely when it comes down to the opening, you can definitely tell that Elias can take on a more monstrous form than what he has at the moment. So, like I said, I don't really think Chisei is in any real danger when it comes down to what's going on right now, because I'm pretty sure, you know, Elias will in fact rescue her, and we'll learn more about the character that was on the dragon to begin with. But just when it comes down to that portion of the episode alone, it was definitely evident in terms of just how the transition came about when it came to that scene, that this was used in particularly just for the sake of a cliffhanger. And when it came down to the transitioning, it was definitely meh. I didn't really like the way on how it transitioned to that, but I can get why they wanted, you know, to put that portion of the episode in just for the sake of getting us interested to see what's going to happen in the next episode. But I just thought it was something worth talking about. And also, I don't really know how that scene was handled in the manga either. Like, was that scene in there at all to begin with? Just let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought about that scene when it came down to you manga readers out there. Was that scene done exactly like how it was in the manga, or was it different? But throughout the majority of this episode, it was actually really well handled, as we got to learn just a little bit of, you know, tidbits regarding Chisei's past and her mother, as we see Elias and Chisei stroll the streets of London, in which, you know, Elias has to take on a human-like form so that way he doesn't, you know, make anyone freak out that, you know, there's a walking beast among them. And they go into this shop in which not really a whole lot of people know about. It's mainly place in which Elias frequents quite a bit at, and we actually get introduced to a new character. I believe the character's name was Angelica. Now, we don't really know too much about Angelica. All we really know is that Angelica and Elias are pretty good friends, and Elias frequents her shop a lot, especially when it comes to gathering supplies and stuff like that. So when it comes down to knowing exactly who Elias is, Angelica is definitely one of these people. Now, I have heard when it came down to, you know, her introduction in this episode, that apparently in the manga there's a lot more about her in detail as far as her past and just, you know, who she is as a character. So I'm hoping to get more, you know, information regarding her character in the future episodes, and especially the relationship that she has with Elias as well, because we do know that these two are very good friends of each other. And also, it turns out that Angelica was also in the OVA series for the Ancient Magus Bride. She didn't have a huge role in the OVA series, but when it came down to OVA 1, she was introduced, and she is very interesting, and I just want to figure out more about her. Is that so much to ask? But what was kind of cool about the scene in particular in which we see Chisei, you know, exchanging dialogue with Angelica within the room is that there is this specific scene that ends up triggering Chisei's memories about her mother, and I guess just due to the emotional torment she faced as a child that is obviously still residing within her. I mean, that is something that you're just not going to get over, especially if your mother died in front of you, which Chisei said. You know, when it comes down to just that alone, it's definitely going to be very hard for someone to get over something like that. So when it came down to the scene with the flower that Chisei was holding, or the, you know, material that was before her that Angelica gave to her, Angelica states, Chisei, imagine a flower before your very eyes. Imagine every detail of that flower and make it appear before you. Think about it in your mind and make it appear out of this material right out in front of you, or something along those lines. And as Chisei is trying to imagine a flower, there is flashbacks of when her mother was still alive and they were looking at this, you know, large garden of flowers. And that is one of the things that ended up activating or triggering, you know, her memories about her mother. And it got to the point into which, I guess, her emotions got out of control, that by the time we see the very next scene, we see the material envelop in these flowers that Chisei obviously imagined in her mind, but they were all crystallized in a sense. So when it comes down to that scene alone, that was pretty much just showing that when it comes down to, you know, Chisei's character, she is mentally and emotionally broken as an individual just because of what she experienced at a very young age, with everyone abandoning her. You know, not only the visions and things that she would see at a very, you know, young age. If you have seen the OVAs, you would know what I'm talking about. And then also the death of her mother, dying right before her eyes, her father not being there, you know, at the time of her death and not looking out for her. You know, we have no idea who Chisei's father is still. So that is one thing that I'm also hoping to get into when it comes down to, you know, the rest of the series. Hopefully we can, you know, see what exactly is going on with Chisei's father and why exactly he wasn't there during the time of, you know, her mother's passing. And also, it also brings up the question as to why exactly did Chisei's mother commit suicide? Because we know, in fact, that she did die. And I believe in the OVAs it was stated that she did die of suicide. As to why exactly she committed suicide, I don't really think they have made it that apparent yet, but hopefully we get to that point soon. So yeah, when it came down to that scene alone, it was very, very interesting, and it just showed us how mentally and emotionally broken Chisei is still as an individual, and it's going to take a lot of time before she ever recovers from something like this and is able to actually let go. And it also kind of showed that when it comes to her trying to learn magic as an apprentice of Elias, it is definitely going to take a lot of time, because I believe it was stated by Angelica herself, if you don't study magic hard enough, you know, something like this will happen. And you see like these crystallized things within on her forearms, and we had it to where in this episode, you know, Chisei made these crystallized, you know, flowers or whatever they were appear from the ground from where she stood. Luckily, no one was hurt in the process, but it just shows you what could possibly happen to Chisei as a character or the other people around her if, you know, she is inexperienced when it comes to magic. So, in turn, she's definitely going to have to study really, really hard, or else something like this might end up biting her in the butt. And not only just studying hard, but also hopefully emotionally and mentally and also physically get recovered from the trauma that you experienced, you know, way back as a child. You need to get these emotions under control, or else this will also happen in turn. But yeah, I think that about does it for my review of the Ancient Magus Bride Episode 2. Very, very good episode. I think that the only gripe I had of this episode of the Ancient Magus Bride was just the weird transitioning, but it wasn't that bad. I mean, it still got me interested to what's, you know, gonna happen in the next episode. I just felt like the transition to that was a little bit off. But yeah, anyway, I'm interested to seeing, you know, what's going to happen in the next episode of the Ancient Magus Bride, who this dragon person is, or the person who is on the dragon, and why exactly, you know, it appears actually, now that I think about it, it appears that actually a lot of characters are after the slave Beggy known as Chisei for whatever reasons. So apparently, you know, these slave buggies or slave beggies, they have a lot of history to their characters in general, so hopefully we get more clarification on that. But yeah, guys, I really hope you enjoyed the review. There is still a lot of things that we need to learn about when it comes down to the Ancient Magus Bride, and we are still kind of, you know, in the learning stages when it comes to this series, because it's still bringing us a lot of world building and getting us introduced to other characters as well as how the world operates, and that is something that I really do appreciate when it comes to this series. You know, they're throwing quite a bit of information at us, but also some questions onto that will hopefully get answered later down in the series as well. It just, all in all, keeps you very interested to see, you know, how that stuff will appear later on. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought about this episode of the Ancient Magus Bride. What did you think about the review? Let me know in the comments. Be sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Hit that red subscribe button down below. If you are a savage, I think you are, you looking at this video right now, you're definitely a savage. Definitely consider subscribing. With that said, everyone, I'll see you all in the next one.